Good morning. This is a public hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on Wednesday, February 10th, 2021, in accordance with the provisions of the Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 272. It's being broadcast live on Channel 18 and recorded for the archives. My name's Janet Williams, and as chair of the Conservation Commission, I'm opening this hearing at 9:02 a.m. Today's hearing is being conducted by remote video conference pursuant to Governor Baker's emergency orders that prohibit the gathering of groups of people. Every effort's been made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. The agenda and copies of all documents for review today have been posted on the town website. For folks who are watching on Channel 18, if at any point during the hearing you wish to participate, ask a question, or make a comment, you can do so by calling the number that is displayed on your screen. The commission votes today will all, once again, be by roll call. And so that we have a record of the quorum of the commission members attending today, I'll now ask each member to indicate their presence on the call by stating their name and presence. Commissioner Rawls.
Rawls here.
Commissioner Del Vecchio.
Del Vecchio present.
Commissioner Clark.
Clark here.
All right, and Commissioner Joe Kitts is continuing on a leave of absence, so we are all here. We have a quorum for today. We have a number of continuances for today. So we're getting a lot of background noise. If everybody could please mute until we get, thank you. We have a number of continuances for today, so if you are here for any of the following matters, they're not going to be heard today. 9 Chat Harbor will be continued to February 24th. 83 Seagull Road, Outermost Harbor Marina, is being continued to March 10th. 227 Vineyard Avenue will be continued to March 24th. 47 and 53 Little Beach Road. Let me get this right. I believe they are continued to March 10th. And with that, Paul, we're ready to start at the top of the agenda. Paul, you there? Oh, you're muted, Paul. Sorry, everybody got muted.
Sorry, yeah, I was just reading the agenda, I'm Chair. Just a note, was 227 Vineyard Avenue, did you say March 24th? Because it says on the agenda February 24th. I think you said March.
No, 224. 227 Vineyard Avenue is continued to February 24th.
Okay, February 24th. Okay, thank you.
We'll
All right.
get to that item. We'll vote that continues.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, first on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability. The following applicants have filed requests for the determination of applicability at 65 Sears Road, Sears Point Summer LLC. Proposed septic upgrade, relocation of storage utilities, elevate portion of the yard area at 65 Sears Road, assessors map 11A parcel J14.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Once again, I'm going to ask everybody to please mute yourselves if you are not speaking, asking a question, making a comment, to avoid a lot of the background noise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For the record, Thad Eldridge, East Southeast. So we're looking at a very large property that's mostly wet. There's no part of this property that is outside of the 100-foot buffer. To the southeast, we have Coastal Bank along Stage Harbor. To the southwest, we have an intermittent stream with floodplain coming in, counting as Coastal Bank. And to the north, we have floodplain with a bordering vegetated wetland and a slope that makes it Coastal Bank under the local bylaw. The septic system failed last summer. It limped along through the end of the summer, but it's not going to make it through the next. The property is also transferring from generation to generation. So under our Board of Health regulations, it's required to be upgraded. So the proposal is to put something in that meets the state code, which is a 50-foot setback from the coastal bank. It doesn't meet the local code. We were at the Board of Health on Monday and received their approval for the local variance. Because groundwater is higher here, part of the yard has to be elevated. And because the driveway is so minimal, we were trying to keep the system from affecting the driveway. And that's why we located it where we did. There's a little bit of work that needs to occur within 50 feet of the coastal bank. That's an overdig. We're not going all the way down to sand with the overdig. We're utilizing what's called the B horizon that allows us only a 4-foot separation of groundwater instead of 5, which is good because this is a very tight system. The replumbing has to come out pretty high on the foundation for this to work with gravity. There's a proposed retaining wall that is an extension of the existing retaining wall, and the utilities need to be relocated for this all to work. There is about 1,000 square feet of area of invasives, primarily invasives, that's within the limits of work. That'll be loamed and seeded when all is done with a conservation mix. And it is quite a bit better than what we have right now, where there's a septic system well within the 50-foot. So it's providing some sort of benefit. As mentioned, it was approved by the Board of Health on Monday, and we look forward to your approval or negative.
Okay, thank you, Thad. So just remind us so the outfall baffle is what is the piece that failed originally?
Yeah, so the septic tank, it's a primary treatment. It separates the solids from the liquids, and there's a baffle on the outlet end that the pipe goes down into the middle of the tank where it's mostly liquid and only liquids go forward. That baffle fell off at some point this summer, so solids went straight through to the leaching field. And as far as environmental impact, it's pretty similar to a cesspool, and the cesspool, none of these systems provide the nitrogen reduction that is our main concern. But with the solids going out to that leaching field, it'll clog. So they limped along.
As a result of all of that, is that, I guess where I'm getting to with this is, why is the existing system being abandoned as opposed to repaired?
Well, it's within 50 feet of the coastal bank, and it's the opportunity now to give it a better separation. I mean, the repair would be the replacement of the leaching field, which that should be outside of the 50 at a minimum.
Yeah. Okay, so as we look at this site plan, the combination of all of the different resource areas that border this, the house is surrounded by 50-foot lines. One to the coastal bank, the other two, I guess, to the stream and to the vegetated wetland.
And for the sake of simplicity, we didn't show the buffers to the wetlands or the stream. Those are all the 50 from the coastal bank.
Oh, are they? So the coastal bank wraps around completely. So that's what I see. Because I see the BVW line on the left, and I thought that's what that 50 was measuring.
There's a dark black line that's over the orange line. The orange line is the limit of the floodplain.
Yep.
And then the black line is the limit of the coastal bank, and it's got little teeth in it.
Okay. So this new system is an advanced design, so it will remove nitrogen, it'll treat it?
No, because we're not changing the flow, there was no requirement to put in advanced treatment. We are using an innovative alternative leaching, the chambers, but they don't provide any greater denitrification than your standard Title V system.
Mhm. And how much, you said you have to elevate some of the area to meet the separation to the groundwater? How much fill and where is that going and how is that gonna work?
So it's about 2 feet. When you go to the site, there's a retaining wall right by the driveway.
Mhm.
And we're matching that grade, just pulling that right across. When you get out towards the property line, we're meeting the grade out there. And then it's just between the house and the property line, it dips down, and that needs to be brought up a little bit to provide the coverage over the system. And also keep the system the 4 feet above the groundwater.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm gonna, and there's a issue about the invasive removal, but I'm gonna let somebody else who's more qualified than I am. But at this point, I'm gonna turn it over to Tom, because I know that he has a lot of questions usually about septic systems. So, this is your area of expertise, man. Everybody's gotta have one, right?
Thank you, Janet. I think. Tad, I had one question about the invasives. You said it's going to be mowed and reseeded, which basically means the invasives are just going to come back, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
They
So
do have
I mean,
plans.
would I be out of place to say basically it's a worthless gesture?
The point of the project is not for a land management or invasive removal plan. The point of the project is to put a septic system in that meets the setbacks. It just happens that
I'm sorry, go ahead. My apologies.
It just happens that there's invasive species in our way. If there were native species, we'd have a different conversation, but with invasive species, we're gonna hack them apart. Whatever comes back, comes back. They'll have the Cape Cod mix seed there, and if they mow, then they'll keep the invasives a little bit at bay. But the purpose of this plan is not for land management, and taking a piece of a property, 1,000 square feet of land management is a worthless effort because there's so many other invasives on the property that they would be fighting with.
Okay, but I noticed in the narrative, which was really excellent in terms of its detail, that there's a comment that which I look at askance, I freely admit. It says that whoever is going to take, I assume the title is being given to children or grandchildren. Is that how it's being passed?
Yes, it's adult children, and it's just the next generation is taking over the property.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you meant by next generation.
Mr. Clark,
yes.
This is Bill Riley.
Hi, Bill.
I represent the family on the generational transfer, but there's no change of ownership. In other words, the Sears Summer Point LLC was going to continue to own the property.
Okay, so does that mean the children are taking title to the LLC?
There's a transfer of the interest in the LLC, yes.
Okay, so the LLC is just continuing to be used as the entity that holds title to the property.
That's correct.
Thank you. That helps clarify a lot. I appreciate that.
No problem.
And so, I mean, Dad, basically this is you're just replacing the septic and doing it in a way and putting it where it's the least expensive option. Would that be a fair characterization?
No, the least expensive option would be to put it right back where it is. We'd be able to use the same tank and put a field in. This is a more expensive option as they have to replumb and relocate the water line. It's a better environmental option and it meets more of the regulations.
and the leach field is only 4 feet above the water table, is that correct?
Correct. It's going to be passing through a sandy loam layer.
Okay,
So-
and do you know where that groundwater discharges? I assume it goes down to the ocean at some point.
It does. So the soil types that are underneath that wetland are a more restrictive soil. And then the soil types that are underneath the subject property are a carver coarse sand. We were expecting the water table to be much lower at the property. It is substantially higher than what we would expect, considering that at Stage Harbor, that high water is going to be elevation 2 to 3.
Okay, I'm sorry, excuse me, I cut you off again, I apologize.
All right, go right ahead.
I was just wondering if the groundwater flow would go towards the revetment down in that. I think that's what is meant by the double dotted line that's along what looks like the water's edge. Right, the one that's right below the mean high water.
Yeah, the double dotted line would be your mean high water line.
Right, and then next to it's a revetment?
Yes, there is a revetment that's not depicted here, but that's that great hill.
Okay, and I know there was some comment about the nature of the water. I mean, there's land under, I assume there's land under the ocean, but there's also, is there shellfish beds out there? I mean, usually that.
You know, you have shellfish beds, you have a little bit of salt marsh, some beach, the coastal bank.
Okay, I noticed, I'm sorry, I did it again, I apologize.
That's quite all right. Our proposed work is more than 100 feet from the coastal bank along Stage Harbor, so we're more than 100 feet from those resource areas.
I understand. What I was concerned about was if the discharge from the septic would move through groundwater down towards Stage Harbor, and if there's any reason to be concerned that it might impact the shellfish beds or other resource areas that are not shown on the plan.
Well, it would no more impact it than what exists today.
Well, oh, so there is an impact. That's what I'm asking. I want to understand what's happening with the system, especially one that's not that far away from groundwater.
So the current system is closer to groundwater.
Yeah, Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Yeah, Bill Riley again.
Yeah, Bill.
You know, you haven't been here that long, Tom, so perhaps.
You're right, only a year. Seems like
a little
forever.
history might help. Beginning about 20 years ago, the Board of Health worked with a consortium of entities doing a study of embayments and the nitrogen loading in the embayments. Chatham was part of it. I think Harwich was part of it. Most of Cape Cod was in part of it. And so we learned all about the nitrogen load in each of the embayments. And that's why, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or 12 years ago, the town voted to spend over $200 million to sewer the town. And so because we know every septic system in town affects the nitrogen level in our embayments. And therefore, it affects the shellfish beds. You know, we've lost our scallop harvest. And so talking about the impact that this septic system has on Stage Harbor, I mean, with all due respect, is really a waste of time, because every single home around Stage Harbor that's not on the sewer system yet, and none of them are, puts nitrogen into Stage Harbor. And, you know, so with all due respect, we'd really appreciate if you stick with, you know, the construction aspects, which is what the Wetlands Protection Act is all about, of the proposed project. And,
Well,
that's all.
thank you, Bill. The folks that I took lessons from at MAC slightly disagree with you on your characterization, in that they say that it is within the concerns of conservation commissions to ascertain whether or not runoff or discharge from septic systems might or might not impact resource areas. And if it does, then it actually comes, according to the way they taught the classes, it comes within the authority of the commission. So that's what's directing my questions, not for any other reason, that I'm trying to understand why certain things are displayed on the plan and certain things weren't, and where things move and so on, just so I have a better understanding of the site, which I think we're supposed to do as part of our duties. But I appreciate your bringing to my attention I didn't realize the cost of the sewer system was so high.
It indeed is, and let me just interrupt by saying, we all, you know, it's nice to be reminded of the problem that particularly Stage Harbor is subjected to because of the topography around it. It is totally surrounded by land except for the small outfall. The land slopes up on all sides, so all of those systems are indeed draining into Stage Harbor. Tom's line of questioning is appropriate to see, just to make sure that it's not taking this project is not making an existing problem even worse by how it's discharging and the distance to the resource area. So
if I may add something in here, the nitrates and nitrites coming out of the septic system don't break down in groundwater, and that's our problem. So
right.
Once these go into groundwater, saturated sand, the water will move at about a foot a day. So the house that is 400 feet away from the water, the drop of nitrogen that goes in today, in a little over a year, is going to be out in Stage Harbor.
Right.
It's one of the problems that we have with, once we sewer, the problem won't be fixed. The groundwater then needs to flush out.
Right.
So
Right.
even this one,
That amount will get there. It's just a question of time.
Yeah.
and the problem with, the proximity to groundwater is a concern, and it's been addressed based upon the Board of Health regulations. But when you look at the nitrogen, it doesn't break down. So even if we had 20 feet from the system down to groundwater, the nitrogen compounds are going to get to groundwater almost instantaneously. And then they're going to move through the soil at a foot a day, heading out towards Stage Harbor. And they'll get there
right.
anyway.
Since you're so knowledgeable, let me ask another quick question. I understand that only roughly half to maybe 60% of the homes in Chatham are going to be attached to the sewer system. Is this one likely to be made part of that system, or are they going to be left with their septic?
This is part of phase one, so it is one of those that is supposed to be sewered.
Okay.
That was a 20-year plan starting in 2009.
Yes.
Yeah, Tom, if
All right,
you want more information, you should check with Dr. Duncanson. He's the one, he's the town official most familiar with the scheduling and proposed locations of the sewer line.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate the education that we've spent the last 5 minutes on. It has benefited me greatly in my understanding of things. Thank you.
Yeah, it's true for everybody, and it was time well spent. So thank you all. Bob Rawls, questions from you? Comments?
I don't think I have any questions. It would appear to be, of all the available options, the only or best option. I did notice in the application that talks about the next owners are starting the process with an ecological consultant to restore the area. So does that mean that they're coming to the commission eventually with a restoration plan?
They are planning on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
good.
all right.
It is an overwhelming project though, because there's a lot of land here.
Yep,
It
okay.
is.
Yeah, anyway, I have no issue with the proposal. It seems like a decent proposal.
Bob Delvecchio?
Yes, Thad, is the soil going to be retained on the other side of the wall, the stone wall?
And I'm sorry,
Is the
Where-
soil on top of the leaching field going to be retained on the south side of the system?
I don't believe so. Bounded over there. You'll see that there's a 15-foot contour heading south. The low point over the system is at 15.3. And then it goes up to, from there, the top high point of the system's a little over 16. And then it tapers down to the wall, and then the wall is straight drop to the driveway, which is around 14.
So you won't have to retain it with any concrete or stone or anything like that?
Not on the south side. On the north side facing the driveway, there is, the wall that exists there is just going to be continued around.
Right. A wraparound, I understand, yeah.
Yeah.
And the invasives, you say you're gonna have that mowed on top of the leaching field, is that it?
Yeah, we were to do an invasive management plan for 1,000 square feet in a sea of 100,000 square feet of invasives wouldn't really last long. So it was, we'll put the conservation mix down and keep it mowed like the rest of the lawn. But they really need something more robust if they want to tackle the invasives.
Right, and the invasives, after they're cut, they'll be removed?
Yeah, no, they'll strip out that topsoil and bring in fresh topsoil. The
And
Board of
they'll be-
Health also mandates a 6-inch layer of loam be placed after all is said and done.
And the invasives will be removed off-site, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's all I had, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, Thad, for that presentation. And we're looking forward to the day we get a proposal for a land management plan to deal with those invasives. It's starting to happen, as you know, along that coastal area, property by property. People are starting to take this on. So it's great that that's spreading. So looking forward to that. And with that, I'll call for a motion for a negative determination, number 3. And Paul, I'm not sure we have to add the condition, but the only thing that strikes me is that the area above the leaching field will be reseeded once it's done with the conservation mix and mowed regularly.
Okay, I have that.
Okay,
All right. Bob Rawls moved for a negative determination.
roll call vote.
Second.
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Roll call vote for negative determination for 65 Sears Road, Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye,
Clark.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, Paul, moving on to the next one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next on the agenda is an amendment to an order of conditions. The following applicant has filed a request to amend an existing order of conditions at 65 Squanto Drive, Scott and Judith M. Stewart, SE 103376. Proposed modifications to an already approved project to include an enclosed vestibule and at basement level, rinse station location, and slight expansion of first floor deck on the easterly side, and relocation of a generator to the east side of the building, assesses map 10C, parcel E16.
Hi, good morning. Stephanie Sequin here, representing Scott and Judith Stewart.
Good morning.
Hopefully you can hear me.
I can. Yep.
All right. Do you want me to put the plan up on? Okay.
If you would, thank you.
All right. Can you see it?
I cannot. I don't know. Is it telling you that you're sharing your screen?
No. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, how's that?
It's coming. Hang on. Not yet. It's got your name showing though. So, here we go. There we go. Okay, excellent.
Okay, great. So this is 65 Squanto Drive, and in January, just about a year ago, January 2020, you issued an order of conditions to allow additions to the existing building. We had an increase of 727 square feet of building and a reduction in hardscaping of 439 square feet for a net increase of 280 square feet within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. And as mitigation for that, we were showing 414 square feet of existing yard that was is to be restored with native plantings. In addition to that, there was another 175 square feet of invasives that are to be removed and the area restored with more native plants. We have submitted a revised site plan, which is what you're looking at now, revised date of December 4th, 2020. And we have some, I think, minor modifications that we're proposing. Down here on the walkout side at the basement level is a 4.5 foot by 4.5 foot basically addition. It's 20 square feet. It will only be at the basement level, and it's simply to provide access from the existing basement through this connector into the basement of the addition. Originally, the rinse station was in this location, so we've moved the rinse station out away from this little vestibule, and that got slightly bigger. The approved plan had just a small bump out on the first floor deck in this right here in the middle, and the stewards decided it made sense to just extend the whole width of the deck that few feet in that direction. So that's some additional square footage there. And the generator was originally proposed on the southwest side of the house, and that's been moved over to the easterly end of the house. So those are the proposed changes to the building and to the site. The resulting increase in coverage within the 50 to 100 foot buffer is 72 square feet over what was shown on the approved plan. So we expanded this mitigation area by 78 square feet, so a little more than 1-to-1 for the additional coverage. So we're now proposing 492 square feet. The planting plan, the planting mitigation plan that was submitted was revised accordingly. They added 7 Comptonia to fill in this expanded planting area. And they also, it'll take me a minute. I don't know if you want to look at the planting plan.
Yes,
They
please.
also,
If
okay,
you
hold on.
don't mind, because I haven't seen it. Okay.
All right, is it up there?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, along here are the Comptonia that they added. They also, originally there were 3 cedars proposed here. They added a 4th one. And then one of the viburnum, there were 5 viburnum over here. They moved one of them over to the other side just to make room for the additional cedar. So
Okay.
I think that's it, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Bob Rawls, I'll start with you this time. Questions for Stephanie?
Yes, I guess it may not be particularly important. I don't see the revised site plan in Dropbox, so we'll have to
It's
get
not.
that
it's not.
there. But nevertheless, I think I was able to follow along. My questions are on the planting plan anyway. And, you know, your explanation, Stephanie, helps. I think what would help for the record is to more clearly indicate what's new. You know, little arrows to the new plants, or somehow indicate. You can sort of you can read the text and get an idea of what's changing, but on the visuals, I was not able to follow it. So if you could somehow just indicate what is being added, specifically which plants are going where they're new, and then other than that, I don't think I have any issues with the overall change. We will remind me, the RIN station, is that new? Was that in the original approved application?
That was in the original, yeah.
Okay, all right. Right. Anyway, so that's all I have on this.
Okay.
Commissioner
Okay, so
Rawls,
you-
if I may, this is Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design, just to respond to your question regarding the planting plan. We did add a note. There is a revision made December 4th, 2021, cedar, 7 sweet fern added in mitigation area.
Yeah, I've got that. It's just that I couldn't tell when looking at the diagram where things were going. So whenever Stephanie was talking about what's being added where, that was more detail that I wasn't picking up on.
Okay, specifically, we were requested by the homeowner to sort of merge the new planting in with the previous mitigation planting, but we can certainly highlight those areas.
Yeah, just
That would be helpful. Just point to the new cedar and the sweet ferns and the move of the viburnum, just so that it's clear. If it weren't for Stephanie with the pointer showing it, it would have been a little bit hard to figure out what was going on there.
Okay, will do.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Bob?
no.
Okay, Bob Rawls, anything?
Or Bob DeVecchio.
Sorry, Bob Del Vecchio.
No, I don't have any questions. It looks fine to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Just one on the invasive species removal. Are you going to do your usual excellent job of controlling them so they're unlikely to come back?
Yes, we had previously submitted a complete land management plan with the original filing, and so that will still be followed.
Yep. And that
Thank you.
it calls for a mowed edge around the mitigation area to keep it separated from the invasives in the area behind. So, yep. Okay. Then all we need, Teresa, if you don't mind just making those few changes, I think this is ready to continue to the work session on March 3rd for the amended order.
Will do.
Thank you.
We just need to make sure that we have a digital copy of the revised site plan. I don't know if we did get it or whether we just didn't put it.
Well, I'm assuming that hard copies were delivered.
True.
And I'm also assuming that it's we'll track it down. And Stephanie, if we run into any problem tracking it down, can you just email a copy?
Sure.
I did not get an electronic copy of the revised.
The revised site plan. Well, that's a big, big missing hole, but yes, I'll make sure. If
So
you,
all my notes were
certainly.
nothing. They were all about, you need to do a new site plan. So, yeah, we're, trying to bridge the divide between hard copies and digital copies. It's challenging. But
Yeah, I can certainly email the revised site plan.
thank you. Just email it to Mary and she'll forward it on to us. And then we'll have it in the Dropbox. Thank you. All right, so is there a motion to continue to March 3rd?
Yes, Bob Rawls moved to continue to March 3rd.
Is there a second?
Clark,
There you go. Roll call vote to continue 65 Squanto to March 3rd. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Del Vecchio,
Aye.
Clark.
aye.
I vote aye as well. That's unanimous. We'll take that up at the work session on March 3rd. Thank you very much. All right, Paul, moving on.
Next on the agenda, we move now to notices of intent. The first notice of intent is 227 Vineyard Avenue, James Azinaro Jr. and Azinaro, SE10, no SE number yet. Proposed construction of garage addition invasive species control at same address, assessors map 11C, parcel D 131. The applicants requested a continuance. Just to clarify, it's March 24th or February, because the agenda says February.
Yeah.
February 24th is the
Next
date
hearing.
for continuance.
Okay. Is there a motion then to continue 227 Vineyard to February 24th?
Bob Rawls move to continue to February 24th.
Clark, second.
Roll call vote to continue to February 24th. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's unanimous. Continued. We'll pick it up on the 24th. Okay.
Next notice of intent on the agenda is 366 Sea Pine Road, Cove Point LLC is the owner, Nicholas M. Lacalade. Lacalade, thank you. I have real trouble with that. SE10, no SE number yet. Proposed alterations to existing hardscaping, including removal, replacement, expansion of driveway, patio, and walkways at 366 Sea Pine Road. Assessors map 13K, parcel 11C24.
Good morning, Stephanie Sequin here again from Ryder and Wilcox, representing Nicholas Lacalade. Let me see if I can get these plans up.
While you're doing that, I know that you and Paul were in touch yesterday about the issue of how to deal with the existing open order for the renovation project, which seems to include some of the elements that are being altered in this proposal. Did you guys work out a path forward for how to deal with this?
We did. I believe I forwarded that to you. What we talked about was removing the overlap. There's a little bit of overlap involving the pergola and the walkway patio. This is the other notice of intent. So what Stephanie and I talked about was they would file a field change request to remove, with a revised plan, to remove that portion of the project, which is in this notice of intent that you're now hearing. So you don't have two NOIs dealing with the same project substance matter at the same time, because you can't do that. So that's what we talked about. Is that what you understand, Steph?
Yes, we did talk about that, and at about 6 o'clock this morning, I had another thought, and I hate to throw it at you out of the blue, but it's just a thought. If we don't have a file number for this new project, so obviously this will be continued. I'm hoping till for 2 weeks, but if I requested a partial certificate of compliance on this, and can you see this site plan that I have up?
Not yet.
No. Okay. I'll see if I can get that up. If I request a partial certificate of compliance on the current SE 3352 for the hardscaping, for the alterations to the patios and walkways, submitting a revised plan, deleting all that, and requesting a partial certificate of compliance saying the walkways are not being constructed, the patios are not being altered under this current order. The mitigation, the original mitigation will remain. And then, and the reason being, this new site plan that was prepared by Sudbury Design, I would rather have all of that hardscaping on that site plan to be under one order. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you can
rather than having part of the hardscaping on the approved Ryder and Wilcox plan, And then the new hardscape, some of the other hardscape on this Sudbury design plan, I would like to keep all the hardscaping, because now it's all being proposed under the Sudbury plan.
Okay.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, the only thing I would comment on is you should probably file for a full certificate on that one, and we can check off that the work, just send me something specifically on the work that I can put into the certificate that says was not completed, because you're allowed to say in a certificate and get a full one that the work wasn't done. So it would probably be better if you went that route rather than a partial, and it would still.
We're just not ready for a full certificate of compliance on the
Yeah.
house
They haven't,
renovation.
the mitigation hasn't been started. There's a number of things that would still be
Right.
outstanding.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you could do it that way. I mean, I wasn't, again, some of the stuff precedes me, but let me just think. Yeah, I think you could do it that way, Steph. If that's how you want to proceed, that as long as we're not dealing with two SE numbers, NOIs that have overlapping proposed work, that's not allowed. So I think that would clean it up and close that out. So yes.
Okay.
You have some good ideas
right.
at 6 in the morning, huh?
Sometimes the best. All right, so you'll file for a partial COC for SE 103352, indicating what the parts of that project removing. Well, what do you what?
She'll send me what she said.
We'll see. We'll deal with it all on the 24th. We'll vote that first and then move on to and treat this as a new proposal.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, and I'd like specific language, Steph, so that I can put that into the certificate.
Okay.
Okay? All
Yeah.
right. Okay, I'm going to mute myself. Thank you.
Got it. Now, with that, we can begin digging into this, into the changes, the new proposal on. Are you able to see? And everyone can see. I put it up because I think Stephanie was having a problem.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, for some reason I can't get any of them up on my screen. I'm sorry.
Is this the one that you want? Is this the right one that I have up?
Well, this is the new submittal, the current application site plan.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
talk about today, and we can start
Okay.
about that.
Thank you very much. So back to 366 Sea Pine Road. It's located at the very end of Sea Pine Road. It occupies half of the point. Basically, there's two properties out at the very end. The property is basically surrounded by revetment, coastal bank, land subject to coastal storm flowage. There's a very small portion of the lot where the existing building is that is outside of the 50-foot buffer, but otherwise the entire site is within the 100-foot buffer to these resource areas and is also within the ACEC. There is an existing single-story house with a drive-under garage and also a detached boathouse and dock. And as we were just talking about, back in September of 2019, there was an order of conditions issued, SE 10-3352, which allows additions and renovations to the existing house and to the boathouse. That also allowed alterations to the existing hardscaping. There are several walkways leading from the driveway to the building. There's a patio and various little steps and stoops. So that order of conditions allowed removal and replacement of the hardscaping in slightly different footprint. That approved plan resulted in a 265 square foot increase within the no disturb zone and a 75 square foot increase within the 50 to 100 foot buffer. based on your 2-to-1 mitigation for work in the no disturb zone and 1-to-1 mitigation requirement for the 50 to 100 foot buffer, that would require 605 square feet of mitigation, and the approved site plan shows 810 square feet of existing lawn on the coastal bank that is to be restored with beach plum. So that's the approved site plan, which I used sort of as our starting point from going forward with this new plan that's been submitted, and that's what's up on the screen. It's a new site plan prepared by Sudbury Design Group. They were hired to refine, I guess, the landscape design here. And I'll go through what's currently being proposed on this new site plan. I think the biggest change is they are proposing to remove the existing circular driveway that's sort of irregularly shaped, somewhat circular, but replace it with a new circular driveway moved closer to the building with a parking area. That new driveway will be pea stone and have cobblestone edging around the outside to hold the pea stone in place. The walkways from the new driveway location up to the building will be reconstructed accordingly. They're obviously going to be shorter. The relocated driveway is located over the existing septic tank, which is not heavy duty, so that septic tank will be removed and replaced with a heavy duty septic tank so that it can be driven over. The existing paved parking area outside of the drive under garage, the pavement will be removed and replaced with pea stone along with the entire driveway and all the parking areas are going to be pea stone. They are showing a new, on the north side of the building, facing the revetment, they're showing a new terrace area. A portion of it will be covered by a pergola. It's a slightly different footprint than what was on the approved plan. The area where the pergola is has been, the depth of that has been increased. And then the uncovered portion of the terrace has been reduced in depth to sort of offset that. They're also showing some new hardscaping on the northwest of this, the northwest side of the building where the kitchen area is. They've created a grill area and some stepping stones from the building out to the boathouse. They're showing granite blocks being placed along at the edge of the lawn at the top of the bank, and those are intended to demarcate the edge of or the top of the coastal bank to discourage future encroachment, mowing or whatever on the coastal bank. They are showing a new location for the flagpole. And then they're specifying that once all the work is complete, all the disturbed lawn areas will be amended with a drought tolerant fescue. So based on this January 19th site plan, we are showing a 948 square foot increase in coverage within the no disturb zone and a 69 square foot increase in coverage in the 50 to 100 foot buffer. So that, again, based on, and those increases are in comparison to the approved site plan. So based, again, on your 2-to-1 mitigation requirement for the no disturb zone and 1-to-1 mitigation for the 50 to 100 foot buffer, that comes out to 1,965 square feet of mitigation required. So the Sudbury design is also, in addition to this new site plan, they have provided a mitigation planting plan. And they are showing on the west side of the property, 2,745 square feet of native plantings to go in where there is currently existing lawn and or existing driveway area. So well over the 2,000 square feet that's required. In addition to that, on the easterly property line, there is a swath of invasives that they are proposing to remove and restore with natives. So that's sort of gravy on top of the other mitigation that's being provided. So I think that's it. I believe someone from Sudbury Design is on the call and may want to jump in and go into a little more detail as far as what's being proposed, either on the mitigation or on the hardscaping.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Have I put the planting plan up? I've got it.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Janet,
yes, Tom.
I just wanted to point out that they've lost the signal to our meeting on Channel 18.
Uh-oh, we had to stop.
They're just going through the usual stuff, that they do on.
Thank you, Tom. We're working on it.
Do we need to stop here and wait until they resolve that?
The meeting's still being recorded in Teams. It is not being broadcast. So it's you, Janet, if you want to continue or not. We can have a record of the meeting with the Teams recording.
Stop my screen share for a moment. Well, my preference would be to press on, but I don't want to come up against a problem of people who were not able to access it. Paul, what do you think? Ask you. You're muted, Paul.
Mark, can you just run that option again by me? Can I?
Paul, you could stop the meeting, take a short break while we sort this out.
Yeah.
Or you can continue and we just rely on the Teams recording for the record of the meeting.
Madam Chair, but would you agree a short break would probably be
I think
beneficial?
that's better. I don't want to move forward and have people not, who are watching. Okay, let's take 5 minutes. It's 10 o'clock. Let's see if they can get it sorted by 10:05.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Janet.
If not, we'll figure it out. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yep.
Sorry about this. We'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, we are back. I think we've gotten the feed to channel 18 has been resolved. So at this point, let me go back to, I had just gotten confirmation that I am indeed showing the planting plan. So is there somebody from, I can't see the name of the firm.
Sunbury Design.
Sudbury.
Sudbury,
Yeah.
thank you, sorry, it's covered up by the.
Yes,
the-
Mike Putu here. I
Hi.
think Stephanie covered things fairly well. I would just reiterate that I think one of the substantial benefits to the mitigation here is the removal of lawn on the west side, where we're taking out driveway and lawn area and doing a fairly robust mitigation planting between the developed driveway and the top of the bank. You know, as Stephanie said, the east side the east side is more icing on the cake. We're just taking care of invasives throughout that area and revegetating with native material. I
Mhm.
think it's a fairly aggressive offset for the hardscape, the additional hardscape that's proposed, and the removal of the asphalt and going to a porous driveway as well. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. One thing I'll notice, and I've now gone back to the site plan, which I think your firm did as well,
Mhm.
is one thing that's not here on the plan. I'm struggling to see the 50-foot and 100-foot setback lines from the bank. I know that I remember this house, that the 50-foot no disturb line is almost all of the property except for a small area in the center. But if this is going to become the plan of record for this this particular order, we would need to have those lines indicated, and I don't see that they are.
Jim, are you on? Could you indicate whether those
Yeah,
lines
so
are
it's the-
shown on?
It's the thick 50-foot line there around the front door. That is the 50-foot buffer line.
Around the front door.
They're kind of thick, long dashes.
This here, can you see my cursor? That-
There's a long dash line between the two brick walkways.
This one here, yeah.
And so that's the 50-foot buffer, and it encompasses basically that center portion of the building.
Okay,
But maybe it could be,
It could be highlighted.
yeah, that's.
correct, right?
Yeah, that's not the right plan. In the previous site plan, it had it very clearly marked, so that.
It is shown there, right, where
Yeah.
it says existing dwelling?
Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is what I was saying. This is the previous site plan for the last order, 3352, and you can see this is the 50-foot line that runs that way. Just for the plan of record, I just would like to see that on there.
Okay, we can do that.
It's on the site plan, the
Mhm.
plan, both of them. Is
Yep.
this portico, this is a new element? Is that part in the narrative?
That is on the approved site plan.
Oh, it is, okay.
So there's no change there.
No changes.
That
to
was the one addition to the building
Okay,
that has already been approved.
okay. All right, now that I've done what I can to clarify this, I'll turn it over to questions from other commissioners. Bob?
Yeah, I
Ross.
think overall, Bob Rawls, I assume, or I don't know. I think the plan in general is a well-designed improvement from an ecological perspective with the P-stone driveways replaced. I guess there will be no asphalt left. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. And of course, the mitigation looks pretty robust. I mean, the only way that I could see the only other approach I can think of is remind me a bit about what's along the coastal bank in terms of vegetation. I know that there's a to the right side, or there's a previous mitigation area. Was there?
The
Is the
majority,
entire, go ahead.
the majority of the bank is comprised from that proposed mitigation that was previously approved, running all the way across to the boathouses, primarily Rosa rugosa and juniper. There's some juniper by the stairs going down by the boathouse.
But with regard to invasives, they are not an issue there.
Not really.
Okay. So the flags, are those flagstones being used to create essentially a new patio in the back?
Yes, there's a small, that's the outside of the kitchen. There's a little grill area, and then just some stepping stones through the landscape over to the boathouse stairs.
Well, I guess the way it struck me was that that's essentially a new patio with a walkway. So
yes.
Anyway, that's the way I'm thinking of it. So what's the general size or diameter of those flagstones?
The stones themselves?
Right.
They'll typically run between 2 foot and 4 foot diameter.
All right. I basically, my other question was, what will be left with in terms of turf lawn? What I gather is that you are replacing any disturbed area with Cape Cod lawn.
Yes.
Is that correct? But if it's not disturbed and if it's currently turf, it would remain that way.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other. I mean, in general, I think it's an improvement. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you. Bob Delvecchio, sorry, I did that twice now today.
That's all right. Rawls is a better name anyway. It's a shorter name. But anyway, I got a few questions. The mitigation areas, will they be demarcated with anything? Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry. Along the west side, along the west side of the west side mitigation, we didn't have anything that demarcated that. We did have the granite stones sort of at the top of the bank to the on the north side of the lawn, between the lawn and the mitigation and the top of the coastal bank.
And the granite demarcates the mitigation on the coastal bank?
That's correct.
Block. Okay, and is there any way you could add anything to the west end where the mitigation will be?
We could do it with a few boulders or some additional granite blocks. That wouldn't be a problem.
Okay, and how about the east end?
Yeah, we could carry the same theme throughout, I think.
Okay, just so people understand that it's a kind of a protected area.
Yep.
And will you have irrigation for the fescue lawn, the Cape Cod lawn?
Yes, that's the proposal.
So that's been something that we've frowned against with other applications within the 50.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to talk about that. The 50 runs through the front yard as well, correct?
Part of it, yes.
Yeah. Let's see, what else did I have? I think that was it. But I think the lawn and the irrigation is going to be an issue as far as I'm concerned, especially in the backyard. I can understand the front yard with the the viewing area being a little bit greener, but not the back. So
okay,
that's where I stand on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Tom?
I agree with Bob. Otherwise, I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. My question is, so the net 948 square foot increase, is that, I mean, I'm presuming that is primarily coming from the stepping stones. Is there another source of where this overall net increase is coming from? The two terraces in the back kind of cancel each other out. One's enlarged and the other is decreased, so just want to see where this coverage is coming from.
Let's see. Some of it's coming from the driveway.
Ah, okay, that's true.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's where the majority of the increase is.
oh, okay.
We're going from just under 4,600 square feet to 5,100 square feet. So it's like 550 square feet is coming from the driveway.
Okay, got it. And that makes a lot more sense then. So that means about 400 from the patio and stepping stone pathway. Okay. That makes more sense. Okay, I don't have any other questions, other than say I also agree with Bob. That entire backyard is in the no disturb zone, and to the extent to which there's disturbance back there, it is more than our strong preference and desire. We are requiring people to remove irrigation in the no disturb zone when they are doing projects in that area. If you're planting a Cape Cod native fescue, it should not require any. That's the idea. And to the extent to which it's needed just to get it started, then above ground temporary irrigation usually does the trick, and that's not a problem. So I guess then, Stephanie, we will continue this to the 24th. There's not much that needs to be done other than preparing the partial COC and out the overlapping elements from this. I will leave that to you and Paul to work out to make sure that this is now a new and clean proposal. And to add the 50-foot line a little bit more clearly, and the 100 if it's impacting anything, which honestly I'm not sure it does. I think it's really it may be on the edge, but again, if this is going to become the plan of record for this new proposal, then it needs to have the resource areas pretty clearly marked. So if you can make that adjustment, and anything else that we want to see before the 24th? I hear nothing. Oh, is there a motion then to continue this to February 20th?
Bob Rose, you cut off right at the last bit. A motion to continue to February 24th. All right.
Second.
All right, roll call vote to continue 366 Sea Pine to February 24th. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
I vote aye. That's unanimous. We will continue this conversation on the 24th. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next.
All right, Paul.
Yes.
Yep.
Next on the agenda is 9 Chat Harbor Lane, Deborah B. Charles Boyce, revocable trust. I guess it's SE 10-2012. I'm sorry, it just says trust -2012. So that must not be the SE number. Timothy and Deborah Child Boys, trustees, applicants, no SE number. Proposed removal of invasive plant species, same address, assessors map 5B. The applicants requested a continuance to February 24th, 2021.
All right, is there a motion to continue this to February 24th?
Bob Rawls, move to continue to February 24th.
Clark, second.
Roll call vote to continue 9 Chat Harbor Lane, February 24th. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
I vote aye. That's unanimous. Okay. Moving on. Paul, you're muted again.
26 Hardings Beach Road, Randy and Bobby Joe Pippin, Arndt, SE 10 3463, proposed management of 1,220 square feet of invasive species in the aura to a salt marsh, installation of 150 linear feet of a chain link dog fence, same location, assesses map 9C, parcel 1C, revised landscape plan has been received.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is Teresa Sprague, Blue Flax Design, on behalf of Randy and Bobby Joe Arndt.
Good morning.
If I may share my screen. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So obviously we've been before you a couple of times previously with a request for a chain link dog fence within the 100-foot buffer zone. This plan, as revised, shows the chain link fence has been removed just outside of the 100-foot buffer, so it's no longer in your jurisdictional area per your request. However, the applicant would like to continue with the proposal to remove the invasive vegetation within the 50 and 100-foot buffers and restore as proposed in the plan. So happy to answer any questions about the proposed invasive plant management.
Are there any changes at all to what we had last looked at in that plan?
Yep, the plan is now showing the proposed fence. This blue line is your 100-foot buffer, and the red line is the 50-foot buffer to the salt marsh, and the proposed fence is now located entirely outside of the 100-foot buffer zone.
I know, I'm sorry, I meant to say, is there any change to the proposed mitigation?
No, right now, well, it's no longer mitigation, it's simply invasive species management.
It's true. We'll change the name to it. Okay. But the chain link fence does remain within the floodplain. Is that correct?
Yes, it does remain within the floodplain.
Okay. And does it still have I think that we talked about a 6-inch clearing from the ground?
It certainly can, since it's outside of jurisdictional area. We hadn't changed we hadn't proposed that, but certainly since it's outside of jurisdiction, we didn't propose that, but a 6-inch gap certainly won't prevent their dogs from getting underneath it.
Having seen their dogs, I think that's absolutely true. And it's to the extent to which it's in the floodplain and land subject to coastal storm flowage, it's still within.
Yes, completely understood. Yes. Obviously, a chain link fence won't provide any obstruction to floodwaters.
That's exactly right. I mean, we've been looking at a lot of fences in floodplains lately.
Yes.
And a chain link, at least in my opinion, not being an expert in anything, but it just seems logical to me that it would pose the least impediment to the flow of floodwaters should they actually get up to that point. Let me open it up to questions from other commissioners. Bob Delvecchio, I'll start with you. Do you have any questions for Teresa on this?
I don't think so. I mean, it looks good. What kind of invasives are there, Teresa?
So multiflora rose, bittersweet, shrub honeysuckle, some vine honeysuckle, and some porcelain berry. There's a significant amount of native vegetation in this area, so it's just really sort of the beginning of the colonization, especially in the 50-foot buffer. Between the 50 and 100-foot buffers along the edge, it's a little bit more intensely invaded, but there's still a significant amount of native vegetation that we're just basically going to be protecting and encouraging to infill in the areas where we're removing the invasive vegetation.
Yes, and the bayberry will be protected and rejuvenated as well, right?
Correct. Yes.
Between the 50 and 100, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it looks great. It's a nice project. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Tom, questions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, thanks. Bob Rawls, questions?
Yeah, a couple. This was originally an RDA, which didn't go, and then there was an NOI, and now this isn't a. What I have in terms of digital files is what I think is the current planting plan, on which I will note that it does say the chain link. The planting notes say the chain link fence will have a 6-inch gap underneath it. But aside from that, I assume, or I don't see a revised application, site plan, et cetera, digitally. So we just need to sort that out. I don't know if those of you or paper have those.
I have it.
Okay, I don't see it in Dropbox. So
Okay.
in today's folder, we just want to make sure we had it.
Yep, I will make sure. I'm not sure where I got it, but I know I have it dated.
I just look to see what's in the folder.
Yeah.
And anyway, the notes for the planning plan, as I mentioned, say the 6-inch gap, and that would be really good to have.
Certainly. Then we will maintain the 6-inch gap.
And other than that, other than the digital file status, I think I don't have any. I'm glad to see that the applicants are staying out of the 100 with their fence. That's all.
It's all good. Okay. Just check and make sure. Yeah, I think that's it. So I guess we're ready to continue this to March 3rd work session. For the order of conditions, is there a motion?
Bob Rawls moved to continue to March 3rd work session for OOCs.
Clark, second. And by the way, I got a hard copy of the revised plan.
Okay, we're getting there slowly but surely on this. Roll call vote to continue 26 Hardings Beach Road to March 3rd. Commissioner Rawls.
Aye.
Delvecchio.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's unanimous. Thank you. We will see you on March 3rd at the work session.
Thank you.
All right, Paul, ready to move on.
Okay, next on the agenda is 915 Old Queen Anne Road, Molly B. Logan, owner applicant SE 103462, proposed construction at grade, access steps to Schoolhouse Pond, removal of damaged and diseased trees within the buffer to an inland bank at 915 Old Queen Anne Road, assesses map 7H, parcel T4.
Good morning again, Teresa Sprague, here from Blue Flax Design on behalf of the Logan and Brown family, property owners at 915 Old Queen Anne Road. I'm not sure if David Clark is on the call, but if not, I believe mainly the questions were related to our proposed vista management and vegetation management. So with that, I will share my screen. I'm just trying to clean it up a little bit so you all don't have to see all the other junk open on my screen right now. Okay, let's take a look at this right here. Okay, so you are looking at the proposed planting plan and management plan, and we did have an opportunity to meet on site along with our arborist, Kyle Bressner, who is also on this call right now and happy to answer any questions. He's in a different location, but happy to answer any questions regarding the proposed management. As just to kind of quickly run through, we have a previously managed Vista corridor, and I did send you copies of the approved RDA that was approved in the past by the Chatham Conservation Commission for pruning within this area. As you can see from that pruning plan and what we've shown in the field, and compared to this plan, we are actually shrinking the size of the Vista corridor. So all of the Vista management will be to the north of the existing path to the beach. And we did discuss our proposal to remove a number of previously pruned topped oak trees that are in poor condition, are currently missing any lower limbs, any lower canopy, which really precludes them from being pruned to maintain that Vista corridor in the future. You can see from our plan that our goal here in managing those oak trees is to allow the previously approved and currently proposed Vista corridor to continue to be open and provide the vistas that the property owners are looking for without the need for ongoing disturbance within both the 50-foot buffer and the 50 to 100-foot buffer zones. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that arose from our site visit or regarding the proposed plan.
Okay, thank you very much, Teresa, and thank you for conducting the site visit. I think that we all found that to be very instructive and very useful. And thank you for bringing Carl Resner with you. And I will ask him a couple of questions in a moment. Just noting, thank you for sending the 2008 RDA that established the view corridor. And looking at it, I just have to point out that I noted that it does specify that they will not top the trees. So, you know, we know how that turned out. But I wanted to ask Mr. Resner to explain a little bit, as he did to us when he met us on the site, what the problem with topping trees to preserve your view, particularly, and it's not unusual in Chatham where the house is elevated above a wooded section that lies between the house and the water. And it's unfortunately common for people to take off the tops of the trees when they begin to impede the view, as happened here. So Carl, can you please just for the record for us explain what the impact of that was and what resulted from that and the trees that are currently on the property?
Hi, Kyle Reisner here. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. So basically, topping any tree is just not a best management practice, especially these oaks. As Teresa said before, it's mostly an oak stand that we're focusing on here. And when you're topping a tree to maintain a view, you're essentially trying to take a large canopy tree and turn it into a medium-sized canopy tree, which it's not genetically made to do that. So you end up excessively pruning it. And as we all know, on the Cape, the oaks have been subjected to a lot of different stressors over the last few years. Oak gall wasp, gypsy moth, and winter moth. And those continuously defoliate these trees and make them weak and more susceptible to other stresses. And where we're seeing with climate change, more increase of drought and extreme temperature swings and not really much of a winter a lot of the time, these trees are becoming more and more susceptible to death, essentially. The more we prune them in ways that they shouldn't be pruned, the more likely we are to see them to, start to rot and die. So it's a much better practice to completely remove a tree that is a large canopy tree that would be, you'd be attempting to maintain as a medium-sized canopy tree and just replace that with a medium-sized canopy tree, which essentially would accomplish the habitat goals. And you'd have a mixed age forest with a little bit more diversity in it as well. So the more you top a tree or the more you prune a tree to reduce its size, you have to do that every year, and it takes a lot of energy to close up those wounds. And where the trees are already stressed, it's unlikely that they'll be able to compartmentalize around those wounds in time to not have fungus enter the tree, and also they're just depleting their sugar stores, which they need if they're going to try to survive the stressors that are already happening naturally.
Okay. And what would happen? What would happen if the pruning has stopped. The trees have the practice of topping these trees stopped a while ago, a couple of years ago at least. And what if we just left them? Would they not be able to
well, essentially,
canopy height on their own? What would happen?
Yeah, the way that they are now structurally, they'll never reach their full potential, and they've already got a lot of rot in them just because of the way that they've been managed in the past and all those external stressors that I talked about before. So those trees will probably, a lot of them will end up as just standing dead in the next few years anyway.
Okay. Okay. So it's something to be mindful of, and I thank you for all of that because it lays out in very plain terms and graphic detail what the results of following this kind of practice can be. And in this case, 32 trees are going to be coming out. Now, most of them are fairly young and are not large. They have there's one or two that are significant in size, but hopefully it will, those are the ones, as you pointed out, that have been so truncated that their growth is in all different directions except up. And once they're removed, it should make room for the ones that have not been so badly damaged to recover on their own and give them space to grow back to the full canopy. At least that's the hope.
That's correct. So all of the existing healthy canopy-sized trees, so the trees that had not been topped previously, are all remaining. So we're not proposing anything except some minor regenerative pruning on those trees. And again, this is not topping, it's just removing dead branches and doing some, general best management tree maintenance work on those existing large canopy trees.
Okay. All right. So let me give an opportunity for other commissioners to ask any questions or make any comments. Bob Rawls?
Yeah, I echo the notion that the on-site was extremely helpful to us as a commission, because when you look at the plan, it looks like devastation. But when we're standing there, you looking at which trees are marked and and their height and so forth, it became clear that the good, tall, healthy trees are remaining. And so I felt better about it. And I felt better about the fact that over time, with this plan or some variation of it, no topping will be required. I do worry a little bit, though, about setting, in effect, a little bit of a precedent where an applicant might say, well, if I top all these trees in my view, then the commission will approve me taking them all out and replacing them. So that is a concern of mine. But nevertheless, with this particular application, I think that it appears to be a sound plan, and a plan that will get the applicant a view, but also will result in a better habitat there. So that's really.
Thank you.
That's what I have.
I agree, and I hope that that the message, that people don't begin to take up the unfortunate and destructive habit of topping trees and to prepare the way for removing them. We'll have to think about, if we start to see that happening, we'll have to think about a way to head that off, because that would be a terrible outcome. Bob Ross, do you have questions?
Or Bob Devecchio.
I'm sorry, my God, it's a third time.
All right.
I have a mental.
Okay. I have a few for Teresa.
Okay.
We talked about having permanent markings in the ground for the view corridor. Is that still possible?
Yes, absolutely. And I apologize. I should have made a note and sent in a new plan. I will be sure to do that.
Okay. Also, we talked about having some low shrubbery or something like that along the new steps along the pond bank.
Yes.
And if that could be done, that'd
Yep.
be great too. I know you
Yes.
plan on seeding it as well, right?
Yes, correct. We will seed it and obviously blanket as needed, but we can certainly add some shrubs along the edge.
Okay. And the other thing was within the steps. I don't know. David's not on the call, I know, but in his work protocol, he mentioned using 1 to 1 3/4 inch stone within the steps. And generally, we recommend 3/4 inch native stone, just in case it was spilled over. It would kind of blend into the environment, I think, a little bit better than inch, and 3/4.
Make sure, I don't see any issue with that. I also think the 3/4 locks a little bit better, so it has less likelihood to drift out of that area. So I don't see any issue with changing that.
Okay.
David Clark is on the line.
Oh, okay.
Hi, David.
Yeah, I just specified the size because that's the most available. Typical yards have pea stone and 3/4 to 1.5 inches, because the 3/4 1.5 inches is used for septic system. But
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. If they can find 3/4 inch, then that's fine with me.
Yeah, okay. And those were the three notes I had.
Okay.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom, questions, comments?
Just a couple of questions. On the over the bank staircase, obviously it appears to me that falls within the exception in regulation 4.01. But because it's perpendicular to the bank, I was wondering if there was an erosion problem that needed to be addressed, and if you think there is, how would you address it?
There isn't. There's a slight erosion problem now due to the past owner traveling up the same spot, up and down the bank. So there is a worn path there. It's still within the what we call the B layer, the subsoil layer, where there's some fines that hold it together. But that's one of the purposes of the stairs, is to put in the steps and the stone to control the runoff. I don't think there's really any significant runoff coming down the hill or down the path. I think whatever rainwater falls on the worn spots is starting to move the material around a little bit.
Okay, and is there still a plan to put in a boat rack and storage box?
Yes.
Because, okay, that I think that needs a variance. If you disagree, please let me know. Only because it's not explicitly mentioned in any of the exceptions.
Well, I did provide a revised narrative as you requested, talking about first defining a water dependent use as per DEP. But if the commission still finds that those two structures require a variance, I did put the variance request in the revised narrative.
Okay, thank you. And is it still their intent to, it could obviously be considered mitigation, that they're going to clean up some of the junk that's on the beach? Not some of it, all of it.
Whatever boats don't belong to them are going. I'm going to talk with Ted Keon to get some of he's got these stickers he puts on derelict boats, given the public notice that they're going to be removed in X number of days. So that's what we intend to do, is put the stickers on the boats and then give them, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months to remove them. If not, they're going to the dump.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only questions I had.
Thank you. And just to follow up with that, David, once the boat rack is installed in the proposed location, these people will have no reason to leave there will be no boats on the beach.
Correct.
On the bank either.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an altogether big improvement outcome. All right. If there are anybody else have any questions, comments? Hearing none. Then we have a motion to continue this to the work session on March 3rd for the order of conditions.
Overall's moved to continue to the work session on March 3rd for OOCs.
Second, Clark.
Roll call vote for 915 Old Queen Anne Road to go to March 3rd. Commissioner Rawls?
Aye.
Delvecchio?
Aye, with those changes I recommended.
Yep, made a note of them. Clark?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's unanimous. So Teresa, if you can get those few changes, the demarcated Vista corridor, we will proceed to the order of conditions.
Absolutely. So I'm going to add the permanent markings for the view corridor and low shrubs along the in-ground steps.
That's the one, shrubs. I had that. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Paul, ready to move on.
Next on the agenda, 20 Jericho Lane LLC, Mark Labovitz, manager, Eastwood Companies, applicant is SE 103467. Continuance of a hearing for proposed demolition of existing dwelling, construction of a new dwelling within 100 feet of a coastal bank at 20 Jericho Lane, assessors map 10B, parcel B2, revised plans received.
David Clark, I'm behalf of the applicant. I believe you have revised plans, both site plan and landscaping plan. I think Andrew is on the line.
Hang on a second, let me just check. I have the site plan here. Let me just make sure that the,
All I see is a revised plan inventory.
yeah, we'll have to track that down.
When'd you send it, Dave? When'd you send it? Dave?
Susan Ledoux sent a revised set of plans last week.
Yeah, Susan Ledoux, it was on the 3rd.
Plan letter, hang on, I got that eastward. Oh, it has the plant, it's not a landscape plan, it's the planting list.
Okay,
that-
sorry.
The planting comparison. Okay,
Yep. The only change to the site plan was the commission wanted clarification on what's happening with the brick foundation from the old pump house. And so I added a note showing that that's going to be removed. There is a concrete slab there with the manhole cover. There is a pump there that's being used for irrigation, so that the pump will remain. But the brick surrounds serve no purpose, and those will be removed.
okay. I don't have any notes about, were there any other changes anybody wanted to see to the site plan, or are we? Okay,
I only had one question.
yep,
It's the same one as before, which is on the path that's being put in. Again, part of it looks like it's going to be vertical to the slope, and I'm, again, just want to find out what's being done to make sure that there's no erosive effect from the staircase going down the face of the slope.
There is an existing footpath there now. So up by the house, there's just a couple of new stones proposed to tie in the new hardscape with the existing footpath. So there's no signs of erosion along those steps now. They've been there for 60 years. If there was a problem, we probably would have seen a significant amount of erosion over 60 years, but there really are no signs.
Okay, thank you. That's my only concern.
okay. Thank you, and so this is the revised landscape plan. I guess it's the planting list. This was what Susan sent. Hang on, let me make it a bit smaller.
This
Okay.
is Andrew Garrelay. I
Yes.
have the PDF on my screen I could share of the whole plan. I don't know why they didn't send
Great.
it.
That would be excellent. And then can you email it? Yep.
Hi, can I just jump in real quick? It's Susan Ledoux.
Sure, Susan.
Yeah, thank you. I sent everything digitally to Paul and Mary on the 3rd. I just resent it to Paul, and but
Okay.
you should have the landscape plan and the site plan as well as this comparison. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are you seeing my plan now?
Yep.
Okay. It was requested that we put more native plants into the planting plan, and I talked with the homeowner, and we discussed it, and I was able to change out some of the plants in the planting around the house, but he also thought he wanted to keep a certain amount of aesthetic plants in there as well. So I've highlighted in red what I changed out into native plants. And at the bottom of the list, you can see, and I'll zoom that in a little bit, that we have 57 native species now in that, some of it in that planting, but he also thought it would make sense for the wildlife to even add some winterberry down along the edge of the clearing, further down toward the water, as well as changing some of the plants in the planting bed. So these are now inkberry here, where before they were Japanese holly, and we have also some bush cinquefoil, which is on some native lists. It's not on all the native lists. And some bearberry also near the windows so that we don't block the light going into the house. So there's a total of 57 native plants now where we did not have them before. And that was what was requested of me.
Okay. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Questions for Andrew?
Bob Rawls, I guess I'll go. I appreciate the introduction of some natives into essentially the foundation plantings and the outer R. That's good. I would take a little issue with the notion that natives can't be aesthetic. There are plenty of natives that bloom beautifully, and so just wanted to give a little shout out to flowering native plants, of which there are many. So we make baby steps on the road towards
and
re-educating people about that.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time finding those, to be honest with you. If somebody has a list and would like to forward that to me, I'd be very happy to try to use that as much as possible.
We have some resources of places where they're available. We'll send that.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't have any further comment.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
Janet, I have a question for David. There was some issue with the flagging of the trees to make sure they weren't removed. Has that been resolved?
I don't recall an issue with the flagging of the trees on this project. I thought it was the Bridge Street project last week.
Yeah, I think we
I
just.
know.
I think we talked about it, that there were some trees on the left side of the house, I think, that were flagged, and you had said that you were going to remove them, I thought. Unless I was dreaming, maybe that was another life ago.
No,
I don't know.
No, I have it here. You're right, Bob. As soon as you started speaking, I remember being confused on site, and what we were able to determine at the last hearing that the trees that were flagged for remaining, not for being removed, which is sort of the opposite of what we normally would expect. So I have here my notes. No trees in the jurisdiction area are being removed. Is that correct, David?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. So.
That was my note as well.
Yep. None of them are coming out, which was great because it was a little alarming to see a lot of flags, but they're all being protected.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay. Tom? Oh, you asked about the steps. Any other questions or comments on 20 Jericho? And is there a motion to continue this to the work session on March 3rd for its order of condition?
Bob Rawls moved to continue to the March 3rd work session.
Second?
Roll call vote to continue 20 Jericho Lane to March 3rd. Commissioner Rawls?
Aye.
Delvecchio?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We'll take that to the work session on March 3rd. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set?
Yep, moving on.
Okay, just, I want to clarify something on Susan's submission. I just looked on my stuff here. That plan was deleted for some reason or other yesterday. I don't know who did that, but so it did come in. We put it up when it came in, so we apologize for that. And moving on now to 203 Cross Street, Erica and Laura Nyman, SC 103434, continuance of a hearing for an NOI for the proposed construction of a swimming pool at 203 Cross Street, assessors map 14C, parcel G7. This project has been withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay, do we should do a vote to approve the request to withdraw, or is that automatic?
It's automatic, but it probably won't hurt to do a motion to accept the withdrawal. you can do it without prejudice, which means they can come back and file it later if they want.
Yep, that's always better to do that. All right, is there a motion to approve the request to withdraw 203 Cross Street without prejudice?
Bob Rawls moved to approve the withdrawal without prejudice.
Second by Clark.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner, sorry,
Go ahead.
Commissioner Rawls?
Aye.
Oh, you're voting. Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
I vote aye. That's approved. Okay. All right, Paul, next one.
Okay, do you want me to read these together?
Yep,
47
we're gonna do it in one motion.
All right, we'll do that. 47 Little Beach Road, Crimson Peak LLC owner, Morris Island Nominee Trust, applicant SE 103421, continuance of a hearing for a notice of intent for the proposed demolition of existing dwelling and septic system, construction of a new dwelling, meeting FEMA NFIP standards, installation of a new septic system, assesses map 16A parcel H50, 57 Little Beach Road, Crimson Peak LLC owner, Morris Island Nominee Trust, SE 103419, continuance of a hearing for a notice of intent for proposed demolition of an existing dwelling and septic system, construction of a new dwelling meeting FEMA NFIP standards, installation of a new septic system at 53 Beach Road, assesses map 16A parcel H52. These are being continued to March 10th at the applicant's request.
Okay, is there a motion then to continue to March the 10th?
Bob Rawls moved to continue to March 10th for both properties.
Clark, second.
Roll
Both.
call vote to continue 47 Little Beach and 53 Little Beach to March the 10th. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's to March 10th. All right.
Next on the agenda is 68 Shell Drive, Katama Point LLC, SE 103466. Proposed relocation of existing dwelling and barn, construction of a new dwelling within land subject to coastal storm flowage at same address, assesses map 14K, parcel W50.
Okay.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Bill Riley on behalf of Katama LLC.
Good morning, Mr. Riley.
As a result of our conversation you and I had at the end of the last meeting, we understand this is going to be a motion to retain a consultant to do a peer review of the work we've submitted, which is certainly acceptable to us. So.
Okay, thank you. There was a little bit of a delay in retaining, getting the consultant on board. He had some medical issues, and so he is now past that and is ready to get going. We are retaining John Ramsey at Applied Coastal to do the peer review. Hopefully that will get underway this week. I'm thinking that we should, to give him enough time to continue this to March 10th, to pick it up at that point. In the interim, we also will be reaching out to the Pleasant Bay Alliance for their comment on the proposal. And I think that's it. Paul, is there anything else I'm missing about?
Yes, we'll be seeking the services of Greg Berman, who works for the County Extension Service. That doesn't require any formal action by us. We've already initiated that process. That's a free service provided to municipalities on the Cape by Mr. Berman, who's a coastal specialist. I just want to note there were just back and forth while we were going through the hearing this morning. Bill was calling and we were texting and emailing. There's been a couple of revisions to the motion. Bill wanted to include the language of peer review. I ran it by Dr. Bob. So I just sent out at 10:58 this morning the third revision to the motion. So Bob Rawls, I did send it to you. So if you look for that email that came in at 10:58, it should include language on peer review in it about halfway through, and that's the motion that you want to read.
Okay, I have one at 10:39, so there's one after that.
Well, maybe it's 10:39.
Yeah, I have the one at 10:39. Madam Chair, I have a question though. Whether any other consultants were considered other than Mr. Ramsey.
There was no outreach to any others. We quickly arrived at the conclusion that Applied Coastal was one of the only firms that we thought had the requisite expertise to take on this kind of a review.
Well, I mean, and we acknowledge that they do have that expertise. We have a concern. Mr. Ramsey was formerly associated with the Woods Hole Group.
Mm-hmm.
And and the staff of Woods Hole Group apparently believes that Mr. Ramsey is not happy about their separation, and but they still, he's very qualified to do the work, but that's not the issue. But there's another firm called now they're called GZA. It used to be called Goldberg Zoino, and they have people there. And I just wondered if it would be fair to ask Bob Duncanson to maybe put this offer out so that there are two potential consultants and see, and then obviously the commission would pick the one they felt was best.
Would you still do that, Bill, if given the statement you made about the former employment?
Yeah, the guy is a very competent guy. He's got a great reputation, and he's not going to do something that's unethical or incorrect. But it just has to do with sort of a comfort level. That's all. So in other words, if Paul and Dr. Bob checked GZA and compared it to Mr. Ramsey and decided Mr. Ramsey was where they wanted to go, then we would not have an objection to that. Just
okay.
I don't know if anybody else was considered. That's all.
No, actually, no one else was. I think Janet articulated it well, but the request for the scope of services and the certified letter that has to go out under section 1.10 for the hiring consultant, Dr. Bob is still reviewing that. I'll run this by him. I don't know how you feel about it, Madam Chair, and the rest of the commission, but I don't see a problem with just including them in the request for a scope of services, because what we need to do is get them to agree to a scope of services. We've now included language in the scope of services that we're going to send out for peer review, which satisfies Mr. Riley's concern. And we can certainly send it to two, and then you can decide which one you want. So
I have no problem with that. I think
okay.
that's fine.
All right. Sounds fine.
Okay. All right. May drive
Thank you very much.
Drive the schedule back a bit, but I don't think by too much. So I think that we're still relatively comfortable scheduling, picking this hearing back up on March 10th. In any case, we'll see where we are at that point. Maybe hopefully we're through this peer review process and ready to move on.
Yeah, that date's acceptable to the applicant, Madam Chair.
Okay, then do we have a motion? So Bob Rawls, do you have the language in front of you?
I do, but does that, are we changing the plan though, if we're going to send it out to a second consultant?
No, it doesn't. It just says outside consultant. So when you read it, why don't you say outside consultants? Okay.
Well, we're going to hire one, but
Well, you're only going to hire one, so I don't think you have to change the language at all.
Right.
Let's
Okay.
hire-
All right.
No, we're hiring
All
one.
right. I will start reading then. This it's
Okay.
it's long, but hopefully I have the right one. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G and Section 1.10 of the Chatham Wetland Protection Regulations, I move that the Chatham Conservation Commission hire an outside consultant to conduct a peer review of the impacts of the proposed project located at 68 Shell Drive, Chatham, Massachusetts, to determine the impacts on the protected resource areas pursuant to Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and 310, the Chatham CMR 10.00 inclusive, and the Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Chapter 272, and the regulations promulgated thereunder inclusive. Said peer review to include the notice of intent and all supporting documentation of the proposed project. The consultant shall be chosen by and report to the Conservation Commission and the conservation agent as provided in the Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G and Section 1.10 of the CWPR. The consultant will provide services deemed necessary by the Commission to come to a final decision on the application submitted to the Conservation Commission. The applicant will be notified in writing once the outside peer review consultant is selected and a request for payment be made pursuant to Section 1.10 of the CWPR.
Just one correction. I think when you read 310 CMR, you said Chatham. It should be 310 Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations. That's what that CMR stands for. It doesn't stand for Chatham. Yep. So with that edit.
Yeah, with that edit.
Okay. All right.
Is there a second to that motion?
Clark, second.
All right, roll call vote to approve the motion as read, to hire the independent consultant. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
I vote aye as well, so that's unanimous. And then is there a motion to continue this to March 10th?
Bob Rawls moved to continue to March 10th.
Clark, second.
Roll call vote to continue 68 Shell Drive to March 10th. Commissioner Rawls,
Aye.
Delvecchio,
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's also unanimous. See where we get in 1 month's time. Hopefully we're through this process.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next, Madam Chair, on the agenda is 83 Seagull Road, 30 Wickes Way. This is a long one.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you need to read, certainly need to read all the parcel numbers.
Parcel N133, AKO A0 to Squantum Road, 27, 59, 75, and 97 Tilapy Run. Seagull Enterprises Properties, LLC, USA Weather Station, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Quinessett Associates, Inc., New Milford Realty Corporation, 59 Tilapy Run Trust, Chatham Seabreeze LLC, and TR97 Tilapy Nominee Trust, SE 103424. Continuance of a hearing for a notice of intent for the proposed dredging and sand placement at 83 Seagull Road, 30 Wickes Way, parcel N133, AKA 0 to Squantum Road, 27, 59, 75, and 97 Tilapy Run, assesses map and parcels 15-1, H98, 15A-2, N133, 15A3-US1, 15A3, N136, 15A3, N137, 14A-N131, and 14A3B. That's
Okay.
it.
Well done. I feel your pain. Back in the days when I was acting as the clerk of the commission, I had to read some of Outermost Harbor's application numbers too. So we got through it. So I'll just remind everybody that this is Outermost Harbor's application to develop a master dredge and disposal permit. They've been pursuing their need to conduct dredging on an as-needed basis. So we've seen a number of these applications. On Callie's advice, they last year, began this process to try to develop something that would not bring them back before us for each time they wanted to conduct a new dredge. I'll also note that this was filed back in April of 2020. It's getting old. I know they're not, Charlie Argo from Coastal Engineering is not on the call today. But I think we need to reach out to them and find out what the nature of the delay is and whether they'd be better off withdrawing it and starting a process over. But for the moment, we'll take a motion to continue it to March 10th, and then we'll have some conversations with these folks and find out what they want to do. But I don't think we can just continuing it. So
All right.
we'll continue it one more time to March 10th.
Yeah, Bob Rawls moved to continue to March 10th.
Clark, second.
All right, roll call vote to continue 83 Siegel, et cetera, to March 10th. Commissioner Rawls.
Aye.
Delvecchio.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. That's unanimous. One way or another, we'll have something to talk about on March 10th. All right, Paul, do we need to talk about the comment letter?
It's on the agenda, so I'll read it, but currently there's an appeal scheduled on the 26 Hardings Beach Road. It's not scheduled to be heard until 2/25/21. I need to get with Sarah to see what, if anything, is going on that might affect us and the comment that I might make. So I'm just going to read it, and I will be talking to Sarah as soon as I can, either today or tomorrow, and get some sort of comment letter off to her with regard to this. So let me read it. Comment to ZBA 26 Hardings Beach Road, appeal number 20054, scheduled for ZBA on 2/25/21. And I will get a letter off to them
Okay.
accordingly.
Yeah, we have voted to take it to the work session for, I think we can easily say that it's approvable with conditions. So, because that's what we're going to do next.
Okay.
And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Bob Rawls, so moved.
Clark, second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Roll call vote to adjourn. Commissioner Rawls.
Aye.
Delvecchio.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
I enthusiastically vote aye to make it unanimous. We are adjourned. So,